Hello, I'm Mathieu from Ludovox, and today we are at the Essen Spiel 2017 on the GreenBrier booth with Julie. Hi, Julie.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, and I have a beautiful game in front of myself. So, what's the name of this game?
This is Folklore, the Affliction.
So, is it about folklore?
Yes. So you're an everyman, and you are doing a campaign that's a RPG, but in a tabletop format, in a world that's been overrun by evil, like werewolves and vampires, ghosts.
Let's bring the stakes.
Yes, and the torches and the pitchforks.
So, what do we need to do in this game? Is it a co-op game, or do we compete against each other?
Yeah, it's a fully co-op game. It's so think RPG. You're on a campaign, unless you're bit by a werewolf. Otherwise, no, you're fully co-op.
Okay, so how do we win and how do we lose?
Well, it's a little bit more complex than that. You're doing a story. So instead of having a GM, the story will provide you with the story arc of what you can do. Now, if you're successful, that will give you certain choices and usually benefits. If you fail at them, then yes, usually it will be at a deficit, but you can still beat the bad guy at the end, maybe. And even if you don't beat him, the story must continue. It just means that in future stories, you're already set up, you're already at a deficit, and you might have a hard time.
So it's a real campaign and not a single scenario on which we focus.
Absolutely, yes.
So how do we play the game? How does the campaign unfold?
Well, okay, so you are a character, and the character is already preset. So here I have the madman. And he already has his stats. And then he also has, a character card that lets you choose one of two character classes that as you get better, you can level up in so that you do get more powerful. Of course, the stories also get harder. You and your fellow friends are going on an adventure, and the story will tell you and set up what that adventure is. Maybe there are rumors that there is a vampire in a nearby town, and all the townspeople have either fled or been trapped and enthralled by him. And you are traveling to this town. But before you go, you're going to travel on the world map to the priest, to the Church of the Crossroads. When you do that, as you travel on the road, you encounter different adventures. Once you get to the next spot, you have the next story moment, you make the next choices. If you are battling monsters, you are pulling out their cards, and then you have, here we go, so that you have their information, and then you place their miniatures on one of the tiles, and it's a tactical battle.
So how do we battle? Is there some specific system, some novel mechanics to the fight?
Well, I wouldn't say novel. I would actually say it's more simplified because the whole idea is that it's an RPG that is streamlined. So when you battle, so I'm going to clear this off and I'm going to move it so that everybody can see it. You would place the tile. You would look at the storybook to see where to place your miniatures. And maybe you have some bonus things that you're going to have to check, and the book will tell you what those are. Then you're going to roll to see if you hit. Our gargoyle here, his defense is a 58. I just missed. I rolled a 57. Now maybe I have a bonus to my hit, and maybe I do get it. If that's the case, I would then roll to see what damage I did based on my weapon, and that's lowering his hit points. So it's streamlined. It's much like a D&D, but it's streamlined.
And you're borrowing from the overall overarching IPs like D&D or Warhammer with the 100-sided die, I guess.
Right. So instead of having that, because those, let's face it, they don't roll well. So we pared it down with a but it's a 100-side roll. And you're mitigating that with the items that you acquire and the abilities that you learn.
So when do we know that a scenario ends? When is it ending?
So the story will have an endpoint. Spoilers, it's usually a boss fight. If you are successful, it will tell you what happens. But even at that, there are nuances. Based on the choices you made earlier, you may get more or less benefits. You may endear yourself to the village that you saved, or they might resent you for being so heavy-handed, depending on what happened earlier in the story. If you fail, and by failing, I mean everybody in the party must die, because even if one person dies, they are a ghost, and they can still help out the party. So it's only if everybody in the party dies that you, as a group, fail the story. And even with that, you can be resurrected and continue. But now there's a cloud that's been overcast on you, and it's more difficult to carry on.
So what can we do as ghosts? Because I'm intrigued. My interest is piqued.
Well, as a ghost, you're using your own essence, your own spirit, to attack. Depending on the character, will determine what you can do. Each one has a different fighting style, which means each ghost has different abilities. For example, the psychic is very physically weak as a human, but as a ghost is actually quite powerful. She has a lot more because she can channel her thoughts and emotions more effectively than the madman, who's very scattered. So as a ghost, he's also very scattered.
And how many stories do we have in that game? Are they all linear, or do we have branching stories?
The core game has 6 stories that are a rough progression, so you can play them as a full campaign, or you can just do one of them at a time. We have 2 different, more thematic, overarching storylines that are 4 stories each. One of them was written by the Sadler brothers, who did Descent, and that one is pretty epic. And then there's an epilogue for that one that was written by Nick Fife of the Ed Greenwood Group, so that's pretty fantastic. And then there's a story in between that one and the next series done by me. It was very hard to follow that up. It's actually very intimidating. But we have plenty, and then we have one-offs that you can play. We have a book, PDF downloadable that allows you to build your own stories. So there's always plenty of content.
Okay. Do you expect it to be in France one day, or is it impossible?
I would love for it to be in France. Well, I'm going to put this out here. I know I'm not supposed to look, but if anybody is interested, we have talked to several people in doing translations, and we would love for that to happen.
We would love it too, I guess. Thank you, Julie, for that overview of Folklore, the Affliction, and see you on the box. Bye-bye.